Hi, welcome to 20 at 10, the Lighting Systems webinar series where we explore groundbreaking designs and state-of-the-art technologies within the lighting industry. My name is Sarah Mylon with Lighting Systems from the Specification sales team, and joining us is Lumenwerx Vice President of Specification Sales, Sage Russell. He will be discussing their new Evoq Adaptable Cove lighting system. And if you have any questions, please enter them in the chat box and we will address them at the end of the presentation. If you would like to schedule a follow-up with Lumenwerx, please reach out to your lighting systems representative. Go ahead and take it away, Sage.
Awesome. Thank you, Sarah. Good to see you. And thanks, everybody, for tuning in. I'll try and keep it brief and salient and to the point and dazzle you, at least as much as I'm dazzled by our own product offering. Like Sarah said, today we're talking about the Evoq Adaptable Cove system. Cove system, self-explanatory, but the adaptable part is the part I hope to convince you of. I'm exceptionally proud of what we've done with Evoq. Cove lighting has been around as a concept forever, and this product is, like so many things we do, based on our strengths and based on the designer's feedback about what this space is maybe lacking. And so we tried to wrap that up into a tool that is very Lumenwerxy. Before we kick it off, hopefully on your screen, you see a QR code in the top left. Depending. Go ahead and scan it if you want to follow along. That is a QR code link to the brochure that I'm presenting from. I'll pop it back up at the end also. But if you want to revisit or highlight any of the specific points, please do. And we'll let it rip. So Evoq Cove lighting, right? Any of you in the audience who are interested in Cove lighting as application, you already know what you need and hopefully have ideas of the tools you use. And my job is to convince you that hopefully we've innovated in this space and are bringing something to the market and have a very, very good reason for actually jumping into this market. What it is just a light module, but it's a light module that heavily relies on optics, which are our strong suit. And from there, it relies on the rest of our know-how and your feedback to be one of the most adaptable and hopefully foolproof works systems of its kind. We'll touch on some of the key features that separate it from other things called cove lighting and hopefully bring it all home and you'll see what we've got here. What we've really done here is try to simplify to eliminate errors. And the story there, the key features are optics. We've boiled down cove lighting to 2 optics. We've also taken control of the profiles. We offer 12 profiles, both fixed and curvable. Those profiles can be very, very simple, simply to replace a contractor-built cove, or they can be very, very complex, our field-curvable faceted cove, when you definitely don't want to deal with contractors' built cove. And then a bunch of spec features to make sure you have maximum control of what you want. Marketing would have you believe that it's as simple as 1, 2, 3, like it shows here. Specify the fixture. By and by, that's just optics, CRI, CCT. Then we talk about the cove configuration. That is what you're trying to light. That is the ceiling or the wall. And then we talk about exactly how to mount it. And that's the step. For reference, I'll toggle real quick over to the Lumenwerx website. If you look up the Evoq family, you are going to find individual cut sheets, installation instructions, photometry, and brochures exactly where you would expect them to be. And you can also email me or Sarah or anyone at the systems team or click on QR codes and probably get to the same stuff. I also pulled up 2 cut sheets so you can see how we approach this stuff fairly concisely and hopefully with enough information to make it crystal clear. But if not, reach out to us as always. So back to the show. Cove lighting, most of this is just going to be glamour shots of how we think you should be applying it. But let's talk about what the family actually offers. The base, of course, is the light module itself. Hopefully you get some representation of it from me holding it up in cyberspace. It's a nominally 1.5 inch by 2.5 inch optical element that importantly has all the electronics on board. It is a line voltage plug and play quick connect light module. There are no remote drivers for Evoq. There are no remote electronics. The simple plug and play module allows you to handle a number of dimming inputs and simply get light out of it. I highlighted in green things that I wanted to remind myself in case I forget to say. Module sizes, 12, 18, and 48 inch. Turns out that more or less covers you. You can then specify exact length systems down to the foot or even 6 inch increments and long runs. And equally important, if you can see it, Evoq modules all have a retractable 2 or 3 inch tether cord that allows some amount of give. So you can stretch out Evoq modules to meet exact lengths or deal with inconsistencies in Cove or deal with outright curves in a curved application. Importantly, that draws on one of its key features, which is what happens when you have a gap between Cove Evoq modules. And the answer is not much. The optic in Evoq is so sophisticated that it is widely deployed and will create uniform lighting almost no matter what. And that's the real goal here, is to accommodate for potential shortfalls or errors in the Cove or spaces or gaps or curves and still create uniform, predictable, indirect illuminance from the Evoq system. From there, it's a light output game. We push 1200 lumens a foot in the Evoq system. The goal there is to give you enough light to interreflect and provide meaningful horizontal luminance down on horizontal task planes. You'll see that the optics are really, really simple. They are identified as narrow and wide. More accurately, I would call them shallow and deep. And that's exactly the decision you have to make. I'll fast forward here to the candela distributions for the two. We'll give you an idea of what you're up to. The only decision you need to make is, do you have a shallow Cove, 6 inches or shallower? Use the shallow optic or narrow optic. If you have more than 6 inches, all the way up to 12 and even 18 inches of depth in your Cove detail, you would use the wide or deep optic. And the Lumenwerx promise is that from there, it simply works. There's the cross-section in scientific numbers, 1.5 to 2.5 inches. There's your 3 lengths for reference. There's little thumbnails to remind you how we have accommodated for bends or breaks or curves. You will also notice, and I'll touch on, we did include an adjustment bracket, an aimable bracket, if you want to tilt Evoq. But my genuine hope is you won't need to. And the promise from my optoelectrical engineers is that you shouldn't need to. That for most applications, Evoq dropped into a Lumenwerx Cove profile will work. So the light module itself, again, optics chosen, length of run chosen. Then you start talking about your spec features. You can see the standard CCTs available. It's a good opportunity to remind you all that if you haven't been back to the factory and seen it, we do make all of our own diode engines at Lumenwerx. That allows us to be very flexible with chips. These are standard chips available, CCTs from 2200 to 6500, static rich colors if you want. Those CCTs can also bookend your tunable or dim to warm options, so you can generate your own custom range of tuning or warm dimming in most of our linear products, and Evoq is no different. There's a fancy glamour shot of what static color might look like in the Evoq system. And from here, you're going to get more and more shots of patterns, rectilinear patterns, square patterns, patterns down the vertical, patterns up onto the ceiling lid, curved patterns, curved plus square patterns, squiggly patterns, all sorts of patterns, because that's what you can do. So light module specified, you then move on to how do you want Evoq to deal with your architecture. We're going to talk 3 flavors of profile. We call them ramps at Lumenwerx. That's an old throwback to the alcove system. Rest in peace. And basically, we've been told by you, the designer, that the key to success is the lighting manufacturer, us, owning the profiles. So we do, and we provide all of them. You are entirely allowed to install Evoq in your own hand-built Cove, contractor-built Cove, dimensional lumber and gyp Cove on top of a bookshelf, whatever you want. But we, Lumenwerx, saw fit to provide as many profiles as possible. The simplest I'm holding in front of me is a finished from factory, matte white painted, requires no additional work on site other than hanging a rail and then dropping the profile onto that rail and set screwing it in place. That all on a good day gets done by a contractor, a framing contractor, leaving your electrical contractor to have an equally good day where all the EC is responsible for is plugging in Evoq modules, linking them together, and dropping them into a profile. The reason that's important and works and is hopefully the way people do things is when you own the profile and the light module, you then, with predictability, know that your light is leaving your Cove, and you're also in control of sight lines. You know you're not going to see the light engine. That is key to success, right? From very basic bolt-on coves, we of course start to get into more elaborate knife edge coves, plaster-in knife edge coves, plaster-in flexible coves, adjustable ramp profiles if you want to put this in your own profile and have aiming capability. Again, hopefully you don't need to. And then, of course, the world famous already field-curvable ramp profile, which we'll touch on later. So from there, it's just a matter of figuring out and putting it all together. There's some cross sections of the different ramp profiles or cove profiles. Worth noting that, like so much of aluminum, we finish all this in-house, so we can control where power entry points are, customize those cove profiles. We can machine out different elements. One of those, and is very common, is air return capabilities. So your Evoq cove can be designed by you to accommodate and handle air return duties. In addition to straight profiles, of which we have a bunch, we can also curve profiles. Anyone who's a fan of the brand or been back to the factory has seen the Bend-O-Matics, the bending machines, in action. And so on call, if you give us geometry, we can create factory curved profile to accommodate the Evoq family. That you might ask for in the case of curved architecture, where you know the curved architecture and you want the cove to match that architecture. We also have the ability, as you can see in this little image, to create curves where there is rectilinear architecture. We can provide the mounting pan, the framing hardware, all of the metal components needed to add or synthesize a curved cove in right angle geometry. And that's just the factory curved bits. As promised, of course, towards the end of this, we'll talk field-curvable as well. Lovely gallery concept. Worth mentioning that this, of course, all applies to vertical cove lighting as well. Pure indirect, we make a number of profiles that interface with the wall and allow you to provide that same amount of pure indirect, very, very deep forward throw light onto vertical surfaces. Worth mentioning, and that's why this slide is in here, that we can make this a gasketed element with wipe down capabilities, antimicrobial paint, or other feature sets specific to healthcare. And the reason is that healthcare is a land of indirect lighting. All too common in healthcare corridors is the need to block view of any light source. And we have a number of families to help with that, and Evoq is simply one of them. And then this shot, which I think tells the complete story full circle. This is Evoq used to create cove lighting in fairly complex field curved situations. This profile is quite clever, according to me. It's a faceted profile. You can see the individual elements that hardware onto the curved architecture in the field. This allows you to not have to worry about the as-built conditions and gives you great latitude in mating a profile to curved architecture in the field. From here, again, the drywall contractor does the vast majority of this work, hardwaring on, slapping on this mud capturing face, and then finishing it all up with architectural grade plaster mud skim coating. And like any other successfully deployed cove application, the Evoq module simply drops into that cove. This image is meant to show off what looks kind of the impossible, or like it at least wouldn't work. A number of very short modules, 12-inch modules, dropped into a field curved application. The reason this is shown this way is to convince you that even in extreme applications with gaps between the Evoq light module, you are going to still get uniform, even, predictable cove lighting, indirect illuminance, high output with a very far throw to give you maximum interreflection and usable light down into the space. That's what it's designed to do. That's what it does do. And at any opportunity, if you want to see it in real life, call me or anyone at the lighting systems team. Be glad to show you how the system plays and works. It's really nice to handle. It's really nice to mock up. It's a great product family to see in real life, to see how this light is deployed, and to experiment with different mock-up applications. So you bring all that together, and that is the spec, right? You figure out what you need from the light engine, figure out the depth of your cove application, then you start talking geometry and communicating that to us from straight to curved to field curvable. different degrees of mud and ramps, and any specialty features. The cut sheets echo most of that and make it a fairly simple process. But again, we really welcome the opportunity to mock this up or run calculations for you and show you exactly what Evoq can do in your specific geometry situation. I'm a big fan. I think we really got something here. But that's no surprise because I work for Lumenwerx. But I also have high regard for our optical engineers, and any product family that really hinges on optical performance. I would like to think we have a good shot at bringing something unique and innovative and best in its class to market. From there, I will, as promised, pull up these cut sheets just so you can see what they look like, and invite you to reach out to myself or anyone at the lighting systems team, and we will get you off and running with Evoq. And yeah, I'll open it up to questions since we have a few minutes left.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sage. We do have some questions. I do see things about an adjustable bracket. What is that for?
Yeah, we didn't talk too much about it, so let's circle back. Evoq, as promised, the optic is intended to be predictable, successful, nearly foolproof in all traditional Cove applications. But if, like me, you are a control freak and don't trust anyone, that's fine. We can accommodate you. We do make this aiming adjustable positive lock bracket. This is simply a ramp or profile that can be fit into our other profiles, onto a contractor built Cove, or onto other architecture, and allow you positive click into place aiming so that you can uniformly tilt the deployment of Evoq light. I see this being used primarily in sloped ceiling applications, maybe barrel vaulted applications where you just can't be sure and you want some latitude in where that peak candela from the Evoq forward through distribution lands.
Can we pre-ship the Cove portion and the modules later?
Absolutely, right. And that's a great strength, and I highly recommend doing it when and where you can. I think it's safe to say that Evoq ramp profiles and the Evoq module are two different trades operating at two different times if you're lucky. And in my utopia, my perfect world, absolutely a drywall contractor goes in and lays up Evoq Cove product or ramp product or profile product and walks off the job, mud done, everything looking architecturally fine. And your electrical contractor comes back on site. Maybe the material is shipped separately so it doesn't sit around on a shelf or in a truck somewhere. And that contractor's day consists entirely of taking Evoq modules, plugging them into one another, and laying them into an already established Cove. So yes, and please do.
Just to confirm, there are no remote drivers for the Evoq system?
Yeah, that's right. A good example, you might not be able to tell, but this is a line voltage AC's 5-con SO cable directly from a plug to a fixture. Worth noting that the only limitation to length is the voltage and the current limitations of your conductor. All that to say, a single line voltage power feed to Evoq, plug and play, no remote drivers. You might be able to power 60, 80, 100 feet of Evoq from a single line voltage power feed. No remote drivers in Evoq. Electronics are all in the light module.
All right, one more quick question. Are these exterior grade, or do you have an exterior grade product?
Good question. They are, let's see, IP44 UL damp rated, so suitable for exterior undercover, depending on your authority having jurisdiction or IOR, inspector of record. They are intended for interior use. They aren't going to do well in standing water. If you need to use Evoq in an exterior situation, let's take it case by case. It may be code compliant, which is to say electrically safe, but of course at Lumenwerx we care about success and durability. So it's going to have to do with your individual environment, bugs, sideways rain, frost, cold, vandals, all that stuff. Again, code compliant, UL damp, suitable for exterior undercover, but I would say let's talk and make sure we've got all our bases covered.
All right, thank you, Sage, and thank you everyone for attending. And please join us November 13th for an exclusive live presentation direct from New York City at the Lee Broom Penthouse. The renowned designer, Lee Broom, will personally guide us through a showroom showcasing the latest awe-inspiring creations, such as the newly released Alchemist collection. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Sarah. Thanks, everybody.